Awesome. Now we're really getting down to the great stuff. This is the stuff I love the most and the stuff that you're going to love the most because it's the stuff that will make you money. It's how to use promotions and how to use hard call to actions on your messenger list in order to get in front of as many people as possible. Because remember, that's the whole reason we use this tool, is it's very, very effective at delivering your message to your fans and people who have signed up to hear from you. So I'm going to show you how you can get these people to sign up to hear from you, and that's going to be in the upcoming lectures. In this lecture, we're going to show you how to promote to them and why it's so important and why this messenger is like a historic time with technology. So what I need you to know first is the bird's eye overview is basically we have a message we want to get out to our list. It could be we're having a 50% off sale today only, go and buy. And that could just be a buying frenzy. But we want to get that out to as many people as possible. And if we post that on our Facebook wall, it's going to do well. It's going to get 12 to 16% of people on average to see it, probably more because you're providing more value. However, if you put it into a message and send it to your messenger list, which is the list of people who have subscribed to get these messages from you, more details to come once again on that, how to do it exactly, how we do it, how to build 10,000 people on that list, all to come. So don't worry about that. But we're going to show you how to get this message in front of 96% of people who sign up to hear from you using Facebook Messenger. So before we do that, I want to jump into something called the timeline. Now, this is a very, very important timeline. It's a little bit of history, but it's very important to understand this because in order to understand how important Facebook Messenger is, you really need to put it into perspective using the very early marketing method. So starting way back in 1860 with the Pony Express delivering mail to 1870, people using this mail service and doing what's called a direct mail campaign. So this means people, there's a couple people I'm going to introduce you to, basically put out the world's first catalogs and the world's first magazines, sending them to people's houses. People were so excited to get these magazines, and then they mailed them back with some money or a check, and they bought products directly through direct mail way back in the late 1800s. Now, this grew and adapted all the way through the early 1900s, and in 1972, email was invented, and in the early 90s, people really started using it for marketing and really started to replace direct mail for anything that was written, especially on the marketing side. Because now instead of having people mailed promotions and catalogs and stuff and then them going and buying them, they now emailed them. And they have the ability to buy directly from the email on a website. So it was game-changing. It was revolutionary. And this was probably the early 90s, even though email was invented back in 1972. And then social media came around in 1997. And once again, it took a little while to catch on with the marketing world and people to really use this to promote their products, brands, and businesses. And it's still really in day one, which is it's amazing because you're here taking the social media course for your business and brand. But it really came to fruition probably 2005 on through to 2019. It's really been in a boom. In 2018, however, Messenger was created by Facebook and split from Facebook. Now, it's so powerful because literally, whenever a new technology comes around like this, such as Messenger, social media, email, direct mail, the effectiveness is so high. So we're going to go through these and I'm going to show you the effectiveness of each method and what happens as the timeline of each one goes on. So we have Aaron Montgomery Ward, very nice name. He's basically the inventor of mail order and direct marketing. So he created a mail order business in 1872 with a one-page catalog where he sent out a one-page catalog with opportunities for people to buy things. They mailed him a check. He mailed them the product. This is Richard Warren Sears. Now, the name Sears might be very familiar to you, especially if you live in the USA. He followed soon after in the 1880s, mailing flyers to rural small-town customers to sell watches. So he started by selling watches by direct mail, which is basically, if you haven't caught on already, it's mail. It's just postal service. It's like physical mail to people's letterboxes. The actions of both men served to revolutionize the purchase of goods, and both men made millions of dollars by jumping on this such early opportunity. So you can see this is Montgomery Ward's catalog. that he has the largest mail order business in the US, supplies for every trade and calling on earth. He was basically the Amazon of the 1800s, where you could basically buy anything through these catalogs, and this is where people shopped when they didn't shop in stores. You can see I've got a 90% over here. Now this is just an estimate, of course, but this follows the trend that I'm going to be teaching you, and it's the main takeaway from this lecture is you need to know that people would have been in the late 1890s stoked, really, really excited to get one of these in the mail. It was a form of entertainment, it was a form of shopping, a form of finding out what the new technology is, basically like going on Amazon and shopping. And they waited for this mail to arrive. And the estimations is that 90% of people who got one of these would open it and read it. Now, I want to show you today's equivalent. You've all seen these, everyone knows what these are. They're just basically magazines or catalogs that come in the mail, and you probably get 10 of them a day, and they're probably stacked up in the kitchen or somewhere in the house. And you can see there's a 10% over here because the competition is now so strong here, and it's been overused so much that only 10% of these magazines that are sent out are now read. And even if they are read, people aren't making crazy buying choices on them. And if they are, the trend is really shifting away from it. So it's not going to be effective for much longer. Although when it gets less effective, then it does resurge again. But that's beyond the scope of this course. What you need to know is when these technologies are first invented, they have very, very high take-up rates, like 90% take-up rates. And then as they get saturated as the years go on, and this one took hundreds of years to really get saturated, or tens of years to get saturated, the conversion rate percentage and the effectiveness of the technology goes way down. However, email came out late 1900s, that is correct, but early 1990s, late 1990s, probably 80s as well. Some people were crazy early adopters. And anyone who had an email back then and was dialing up and signing in and checking their email was so excited to get these emails. And there's a lot of marketers who made millions of dollars through email marketing back when it was really, really effective. You can read something like the Sideways Sales Letter if you want to read more about that. But basically, back when email was starting up and everyone was excited, it had a 90% open rate. Now, these are actual statistics. 90% of people who received an email opened it. And there wasn't a spam folder. There wasn't any of this. Every single email that got sent out, 90% of the time, it would be read. Today, however, similar to the magazines, you're going to see a lot of spam coming through. Everybody's doing it. It's oversaturated, and only 10% of emails that are getting sent out are being read. Now, you can see the trend here. How does this relate to Facebook? I'm sorry for this little bit of a blurry photo here, but I needed to use this one because there's a screen grab of Facebook way back in the day, back when Facebook was just launching, and on the news feed of Facebook, which looks very different today, but back then you can see James Wang created a group, made this person's newsfeed. Can you imagine if someone creating a group made your newsfeed? Let's see what else did this. Chris Hughes joined a group. You don't see any of this. Went from being married to in a relationship. You might see a big relationship reminder if you have a strong affinity with a friend. Uploaded a mobile photo. You don't really see things like this anymore. These are very, very simple, basic updates, but just because there wasn't that much competition on the Facebook newsfeed, 90% of Facebook updates got read. Today, you know how many Facebook updates get read? 12 to 16%, remember? So it's on its way down to 10%. It's going to be lower and lower as time goes on, just because it's getting more and more saturated. But it's not a bad thing. You can still be very effective with Facebook status updates, and it still is very important to engage that 10%. But what we need to know is that Facebook Messenger is so new, it's actually getting 96% open rates. So it's the newest and most effective medium for you to be marketing in, and that's why we're going to dive deep into this, and that's why you need to be excited to learn everything there is to learn about Facebook Messenger and how you can use it for your business and brand, because it's going to be critical in helping you succeed and make a lot of money with Facebook.